I believe people's homes are a reflection of the people who live there, and that goes for not just my home, it goes for anybody's home. So I'm pleased that you people have been able to come and do this, because I think it will provide Canadians with an opportunity to, I've at least at one point seen the inside of what is a very important home.
24 Sussex Drive is the official residence of the Prime Minister of Canada. Its most recent inhabitants, Joe Clark and his wife Maureen. Hello, I'm Hannah Gartner, and welcome to a very special Take 30. Although 24 Sussex is the property of the government, each of its residents has attempted to leave his own imprint on the Grey Mansion, and the Clarks are no exception. This past Monday, after 9 months in office, Clark and his family left for a brief holiday. And while they were away, the exchange of the homes between the elected Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition will take place. Pierre Trudeau moves back to Sussex, and he'll no doubt alter the house, which now reflects the Clark style and taste. On the day before they left on holidays, Maureen McTeer invited Take 30 inside 24 Sussex Drive, and she gave us an exclusive tour of the public rooms of the house of the Prime Minister and a private glimpse of its departing chatelaine. There are 35 rooms spread over 3 floors of the official residence, with the public reception rooms on the main floor. And it was in these rooms that Maureen McTeer and architect Cecilia Humphreys decided to make the major changes. Working with limited funds and government-owned furniture, the transformation of rooms, like the living room, was achieved by repainting walls, reupholstering couches, and repairing curtains. A 100-year-old Chinese carpet found in a government warehouse was used as the focal point of the room. And to achieve the contemporary and youthful feel they were looking for, they borrowed Canadian paintings from the Art Bank and the National Gallery. When I look around this living room and what you did with it, I can't help thinking about that $15,000 budget that Joe gave you. I could imagine.
Stingy.
Well, he did that at Stornoway too, so we were used to it. But I thought 15,000 was a little low.
Well, how did you feel when you walked in the front door and think, what am I going to do? 35 rooms.
Cecilia Humphreys and her sister Maureen have, being both architects, were able to say, well, this, first of all, we use color, and we'll use what's here as much as possible, and we'll change as little as we can, and they managed to find things hither and yon that were in storage, and met people who knew people and friends. Mr. Firestone was willing to lend us some of the art from his collection. And by the time you not beg, borrow, or steal, but there are ways of decorating in an elegant, beautiful fashion. And we were able to borrow some things, the original BNA Act and Sir John A.'s hand that we got from the archives. Well, that was something that was there. It took a bit of digging to find.
Was it nervous-making? Was there a conscious thing in your mind?
Money doesn't ring in my. To me, $15,000. I can't even. I earned about 6 as an articling student. It struck me at the time to be a lot of money. I didn't try to get into the details. So they know. Cecilia and Maureen know budget. They know how much it costs to have painters come in, and how much each room is, and they multiply it by the number of square feet. That's their training. That's their background. That's how they think and can use figures that way. My attitude was more my feeling of what I could do was to say whether or not I felt comfortable with the room. That's basically, I'm trained as a lawyer, not as an architect.
When you were renovating and redecorating, Maureen, to what extent was it important that you put your own signature on this house, that your taste, your sensibilities are reflected in this house?
Well, I think that was certainly a consideration because it's also our home. So that it was important that we have a house, a place where we were living that reflected our style, our youth, our interests or whatever. But I think also we have, as we did at Stornoway, been very concerned that it also be, because it's a residence, that it reflect the country, that it in fact be reflective of everything that is Canadian, if you will. Perhaps even more so here than at Stornoway, because When you're here, when you're the head of the government, you are in a position where you receive a lot of people from other countries, and so when they come to this house, they come and form impressions, I think, of the country, not only from the people who live in the house, but the house itself. When you walk in, we have the bench, we have the mirror, which is early Ontario, and then you walk in and you have Les Premiers Colons. What they, in a way, what they would have seen, because the paintings that we have right there are the seasons. So what a person would have seen the 4 seasons of our country. This room that we're in now, the formal dining room, and Joe's formal den, were really the 3 main rooms that people would see when they come. The second floor has our family room and our bedrooms, but this is the formal part of the house, and so that was very important in that respect.
The art of Canadian Eskimos and Indians graced the walls of the library, a place where Clark received diplomats and dignitaries. Tucked away on bookshelves, beside art books and thrillers, were family photographs and assorted souvenirs from the West. Hanging on the walls above the desk, a collection of photographs taken by Clark's father of High River, Alberta. To what extent is that library used?
Well, we use it a lot if there's a conflict as to who uses Joe's private library. Then one of us gets to use it. But certainly when Joe had meetings or when he received, that would be the room they'd go to. We tried to make it very bright. It had been dark before, and so we thought, we don't like to if you don't use a room, as probably you've heard this before, but if you don't use a room, it looks like it isn't used. It looks like it isn't lived in, and I think of the parlor. You remember when, I don't know if you had it when I grew up in the country, and everyone had a parlor. Everyone lived in the kitchen practically, and we kept the living room, which was the parlor. And I kept thinking, who was it for? Well, it's for special guests or Christmas Day or something. And all that furniture was never used, and some people even used to cover it with sheets, but we didn't want that kind of thing. We wanted the whole house to be used as much as possible.
I love that hall. Is that new, the hall between
It's
the
our
dining
dance
room and this room? Dance floor, really?
Yes, I always think people should dance and have a good time when they come to parties. And it was rug before, and dancing on a rug's a little difficult. And we had originally thought there was enough wood in storage to do it the same as the front hall, so that we'd have a wood floor there.
It's nice. It's a nice connection between the dining room. Could we go there? To bring out the architectural details in the dining room, the ceilings and walls were hand-gilded, and the orange and red wallpaper chosen by Margaret Trudeau replaced by beige and white. As in other areas of the house, here in the dining room, traditional art mixed easily with more modern. An old clock belonging to Sir John A. Macdonald was unearthed from the basement and placed underneath a work by maritime artist Ruth Wainwright. You enjoy it when the house is packed full of people?
I don't like it packed so that you can't talk to everyone, but we've had up to 200 people here, and that the house is big enough, certainly, to accommodate it.
What are the logistics of something like that, 200 people?
A lot of food. Well, we started out at Stornoway, as you know, learning, or at least I learned, how much food you needed, and I had Greet Hale, who's president of Morrison Lamoth, and who just knows food so well, and good friend, and would come whenever I would yell for help. And I found that after, well, it's been 4 years now, and we've really become to know how much food and wine or liquor, whatever it is you're serving, you need for different numbers. And usually if you have the same type, I find people who come to my house eat a lot. So I don't know if it's because they feel hungry when they get here or they like the food, but I find I can always count on people eating a certain amount of food. So once you get into it, becomes almost like a routine. So then it's just a question of decorating and making sure that the flowers are fine. And
Is it very important? Do you really worry about who sits next to who? And
Joe worries about that.
Yeah.
He's much better at that than I am. I find that's something he will look at. Usually it'll be done and he'll redo it all. So now I just leave it for him if he wants to change everyone else around. But he has a very good sense of who would feel comfortable with whom at a dinner table. And that I think is a real knack to have, because you know, if you're going to have 20 people eating dinner and 2 of them are absolutely terrible enemies, or, you know, they have nothing in common, they couldn't speak with each other, well, dinner could go on for an hour more, or 2 hours, and you'd be stuck beside someone you didn't want to talk to.
I know there are people who are listening to you who get undone by the thought of 10 people coming to dinner.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
if they
and
do,
these
first
are
time you do. But I'm sure they're not nervous the second time, or the third time. I mean, you've done it once, and that's when you're nervous. The second or third time, it's old hat.
It must be your organization that is the trick. I mean, the responsibility that you have as First Lady, running a 35-room house, bringing up a little girl, campaigning with your husband.
Oh, don't say it all at once.
Taking a
You're
bar
making me-
exam.
But you don't think of it in that context.
It
It
has undone-
has to be done.
Well, it has
And so
undone a lot of
do
women
it.
who are older and much more experienced than you. I think
I'm
that
getting a lot of gray hair out of this. I'm hoping law is a little less strenuous. My brother-in-law insists it isn't, but we'll see.
this room has a formal but still a very warm feeling to it.
That's what we've always tried to do, both at Stornoway and here. Because, you know, people come here and a lot of times say they're heads of other governments, or they're people who don't know each other. And it's not only important that you can mix with them as people, but that they come in and they feel comfortable. You know, looking around this room, for instance, one of the choices we had to make, I enjoy contemporary art. I also had a feeling that people like the Group of Seven don't need publicity, if you will, that there are more contemporary artists who need to be known and whose work is excellent, and I would like to promote their work.
Do you feel that you put a lot of people's noses out of joint by using so much contemporary art in here?
No, I think, in fact, people were very excited at the way the house was treated. You know, the Wise and the Alex Wise,
Yes, I love
you
it.
know, the exercise, what is it, flying cows over the Governor General's residence. It's fun. It makes people look at it and they get a laugh. They think it's very witty, and I think some people will never want anything but Group of Seven. So you're never going to change those people. But we are young. We are contemporary, if you will. We are new, and our ideas are different, and therefore we can do these things, I think, perhaps more easily than older people could do, because they may be more wedded to the more traditional arts.
The whimsical Alex Wise is not the only thing which brightens up the sunroom located off the dining room. A combination of white wicker furniture, lively fabrics, and a spectacular view make this one of the cheeriest rooms in the house. And there's a good reason for the view. 24 Sussex was built 111 years ago by a lumber baron who enjoyed sitting in his living room watching the logs float by on the Rideau Canal. To escape from the daily pressures of Ottawa, the Prime Minister and his family can retreat to their country home at Harrington Lake.